Hey there, kids. It is Mr. King back with your second week for the 5th and 6th grade classes. If you remember last time, we were working on our cup design right here, inspired by Shemming Buoy. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun to work on using the Sharpies to work on this design, the cup. I ended up making these kind of like weird kind of worm sea monster guys coming up. It's all just daydreaming and doodling. So this just came out of my head from whatever shapes I started making on the cup. As that happened, the next step to this project is to take a half sheet of paper. You can use regular computer paper. In this case, I actually have watercolor paper because I do want to give you the option. If you want to use a little bit of watercolor or some paint on here, you can. If you're working at home, which you likely are with this video, and you don't have that available, using regular computer paper, or much better would be a cardstock paper, and then colored pencils would work fine. Or if you just don't have access to any of those, doing it in black and white is acceptable too. So what I end up doing with this is I tape my cup onto my paper upside down near the top. And what I want you to imagine was what would spill out of that cup drawing that you did. So we did our Shemming Buoy inspired cup. And then if you tipped it over and that doodle were to spill out on the paper, what would happen? So for this, yes, I could definitely repeat some of the patterns, but I saw these monsters right here and I thought that's really cool because now I'm wondering like what's going on with the body. So what would happen if the body was the part that spilled out in the bottom of the paper? And then, somehow it turned into these weird kind of things coming up out of almost like a coral reef thing, but like little holes in them, like these long eels. Had them coming up out of the water up here because they're up closer to the clouds in the image on the cup. I made some seaweed down over here, and I would just keep going. I'd be adding waves, potentially some stuff going on here in the sky, maybe some other aquatic life. The possibilities are endless with this. I think filling up the page is really cool. I have had some students that have actually made the art that spills out into the shape of an actual spill. So that's, kind of different way you can go with it. I've had some kids turn over the cup the other way and have the artwork rising out of the cup rather than spilling out the other way around. So really, there's so many possibilities with this. You do anything you want. Now, just to attach this cup on, all I used was some nice thick piece of masking tape rolled up right there. Duct tape works really, really well because it's very strong. Scotch tape will kind of do the job, but you might need a little more than that. Hot glue would work okay, except that I would be very careful with anything that's heated up like that on the styrofoam, because if you touch that metal tip, it'll definitely melt that styrofoam on there. So I would say regular Elmer's glue or masking tape or duct tape is by far your best bet. So what spills out, what does that create, is really kind of the heart of this. And what I want you to do, if possible, is to add an element of color to at least the stuff that's on the paper. If you had already done that on the cup with Sharpies, that's great. But just to also mention that when you're working on paper and then you're potentially going to work in watercolor, I do advise you to use a permanent marker like a Sharpie. This is an ultra fine point, but you could use just a regular fine point as well. The thing about permanent markers is, unlike these water-based markers, if you add watercolors and you add water to a water-based marker, this is going to bleed and look really ugly. This marker, this permanent marker, is actually an alcohol-based, it's a solvent marker. So what's gonna happen is that is actually gonna stay on the paper without being affected by the water, and you're going to still retain all these outlines, which is really good. So that is basically it, guys. What I'm hoping is that you'll have that done, an image of it, and you can send it on over for the end of the week to finish out this project. Remember to put your name on your work. And finally, just wanted to give you a heads up that kind of the learning objective here we're really trying to get at is I want you to have a multimedia answer to this visual problem right here on a unique canvas. So we're using kind of a weird idea. It's got a cyclical piece of art that connects to itself, and then we're going to do an illustration piece coming off of the bottom right here. And so we're looking for inspiration to a automatic drawing idea. So really, it's daydreaming and then letting the daydream spill out onto the page. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will hope to hear from you on the dashboard at some point if you have any issues. And feel free to try to send me a message, let me know you want to catch up with some office hours, and I will be around too. All right, bye-bye.